Okay, Emmy lovers, we are days away from nominations being revealed for the 2014 Emmys, but we're not going to make you wait. We're not going to let you suffer anymore because we're going to tell you right here and now what's going to be on that list and who's ahead to win. We've got Paul Sheehan, Chris Beachum, Daniel Montgomery. We're going to start with Paul. I, I, I'm absolutely certain you're sane. I've known you enough years to know that, but I have some serious question now after I look at your nominations. You have on your list Modern Family, Veep, Big Bang Theory, Girls, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Louie. You do not have another one that we all have on our list and many people think is the front runner to win, Orange is the New Black. Nor do you have the other hot new show of this year, which is Silicon Valley. Daniel has it on his list. It's HBO. There's a strong case to be made for it to be nomination. So you have left off both of those. Let's start there. Why?
Well, I guess, I sort of drank your juice last year about Louis, Tom, so I'm not going to be deferring to you when it comes to this category.
No, it was nominated, though. Come on.
Okay, I will hold my hands up about Orange is the New Black. You're absolutely that should be on there, and I guess when I look at this, I think I'll switch that out as soon as we sign off, and I'm going to drop Girls. But I don't see Silicon Valley getting on there, and I guess I'll turn to Daniel and say, convince me why Silicon Valley, which sort of seems very hipster, very sort of skews young, why are the TV Academy voters, who aren't as old as the Oscar voters, mind you, but why are they going to go for Silicon Valley, Daniel?
Well, I mean, hip and young doesn't always work for the TV Academy in terms of who wins, at least. But Girls is hipster and young. Entourage was hipster and young. Both were on HBO. Both were sort of the hot new show. I'm not 100% confident about it, but I feel like it has a better chance than Brooklyn Nine-Nine. They're both young skewing, but I think Silicon Valley has more of that prestige factor, coming from HBO.
But Daniel, you are booting off your list Girls, which is hipster, young skewing, the same argument you're making for Silicon Valley, and it was a nominee last year, and many critics just think it's had its best season ever. You're booting off Girls, and you are not including the Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You defended that, but explain why Girls is off your list.
Well, I don't know, I mean, it's been nominated the last 2 years, but it hasn't, I mean, and this might be a bias because, it's just not, it's sort of, the backlash sort of hit a little bit on that show over the last few years, and I don't know, it just feels like there's not as much excitement about it as there was a couple of years ago. I'm not sure that, there's going to be room for multiple hip, young shows, to get in, and Silicon Valley is the new one. It's sort of fresher and has more recent media attention.
So basically, to quote what you just said word for word a few sentences ago, I don't know, you're saying. Now, Chris, you don't have Silicon Valley on your list, and you don't have Girls on your list either. So first of all, tell us what you do have on your list, Chris, and why you don't have those two.
Well, I've got 4 from last year: Modern Family, Veep, Big Bang Theory, and Louie. And then I was making way for 2 newcomers, which would be Orange and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Girls, it has surprised me the last couple of years, getting in as it has, but in this past year, no Producers Guild, no Writers Guild, no Directors Guild, no Screen Actors Guild. I just don't see the industry support for this show anymore.
Tom, sorry, I'm just looking at your list. You don't have Girls, and you don't have Silicon Valley. Wait. So everyone, pay attention here.
Ouch! No, it's absolutely true. I'm going to get to my own predictions here in a second. Let's see Chris wiggle out from under the gunfire.
Well, that's why I don't have Girls. And Silicon Valley, I don't know. I tried to watch the first couple of episodes. Maybe it's just me, but after it came out and had the initial push, it just seemed to die. I don't hear anybody talking about it.
Well, I like your other argument about Guild nominations better than nobody's talking about it, because a lot of people are talking about it, especially in LA, and a lot of people think it's had its best year ever. I don't even know what my predictions are. Hold on, let me take a look.
You got Louis in second place. No surprise there. What does he have on you, Tom? Does he have photos of you or something, Louis C.K.?
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I think it is the demographic of the TV Academy. He is the Emmy voter, a middle-aged guy, dumpy, works on the fringes of show business, and is desperately hitting on women inappropriately for him in age and every other thing. That's them. That's why it's there. Orange is the New Black, I think, has the heat right now and can win. Veep, I think, has, going through my list here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Veep, I think, has the cachet to win, and I think it's a mystery why it's not been nominated for writing in the past, or writing or directing, right? Or did it get a directing nom?
No,
but
neither one.
Neither one, and so that's astounding. That makes me think less that it can win. Brooklyn Nine-Nine just had the double hit at the Golden Globes. I think we've seen a lot of love for cop shows at the Emmys through the years, from, of course, Hill Street Blues to Barney Miller. Big Bang, of course, goes on there. So basically, I didn't have room for Silicon Valley or for Girls, but I have no logical reason not to include them because I think they're both serious threats here to get in.
Now, I think I'd have to double check as I'm saying this. Yeah, every single editor, including us four, has Modern Family to win. Fifth in a row, ties the record. What's the one that could snatch it away? I mean, is it Orange is the New Black? Is it Veep? And I guess I'm curious, Tom, maybe you could talk to this a little bit, that, is Netflix and the streaming service the new holy grail? Is this where people sort of see the future and therefore they'll want to reward it? Or are they threatened by it? They're
threatened by it, but keep in mind the bulk of membership of the TV Academy works in broadcast television. And even though that's the case, all of the nominees for Best Drama Series last year were non-broadcast shows. So I think that's the kind of evidence that's fascinating for us to look at, which is that they have this kind of romantic view of the other stuff on TV, in this case, the cable channels. And so I think that same kind of media envy about the sexy new kid on the block has to do with Orange is the New Black. And because it's a female skewing show, I'm less certain that it can win because it's such a male-dominated academy. So I have Louis in second place because of the demographic, that is them. I have Orange is the New Black in third because I really think it is within striking distance. I don't care if Veep hasn't had the writing and directing now. I think it still can win, but I think only those 4 shows can do it. I don't think Big Bang can win, and I don't think Brooklyn Nine-Nine. What do you other guys think?
Well, Daniel, you wrote an excellent piece about that this could be a rerun of the Ally McBeal taking down Frasier year, right? Talk a little bit about that, how it could play out this year.
Yeah, I think it's a similar situation, not exactly the same. Ally McBeal, when it won, it was in its second season instead of its first. But here you have a show that has won multiple times in a row, Modern Family, 4 in a row. People are starting to tire of it a little bit, and there's even sign at the Emmys that the Emmys are starting to tire of it. No acting awards last year. And then you have this hot dramedy show, female skewing, as what Ally McBeal and Orange is the New Black both are. It feels hip, it feels cool, it feels fresh, and it seems like the cool show to pick. I feel like if there is one alternative to Modern Family this year, it's most likely going to be Orange is the New Black. Veep, I agree, Veep could do it. I think we will need to see it get maybe more of those nominations, writing and directing, maybe get another actor in there. So my opinion might change depending on how the nominations stack up in favor of the different shows, but I think Orange is the New Black is the likeliest challenger at this point.
And Chris, I'm curious about Big Bang. I mean, huge ratings juggernaut, and it's akin to Friends that it sort of has reinvented itself like Friends did by starting to pair up different couples within the sextet. I mean, Big Bang's introduced these very strong female characters. I mean, this year they had the engagement of Kaylee Cuoco and Johnny Galecki's characters. Why are we all writing up Big Bang? I mean, why can't it do what Friends did late into its run and finally win Best Comedy Series?
I think it could. I think I've got it in third place. It's similar to Friends. Friends won Best Comedy in its 8th season, didn't have a writing or directing nomination that year, which Big Bang has never had. The difference with Friends, though, that year was, if you'll all recall, I mean, it was the undisputed top contender that year. Everybody knew, even without the directing and writing nomination, that it was going to win for that particular season. It was its best season. I thought Big Bang really had its best shot last year. I think that was its best season so far. And when it didn't get in some of the supporting people we thought might get in, didn't get a writing, didn't get a directing, it just seemed to fall by the wayside. And I've actually picked it to win at the Globes and SAG in the past couple of years. I thought it would really strike there, and it hasn't. So something about it just has not, and it could be just a Modern Family thing. I mean, that has been so dominant that we don't exactly know when that's going to stop. The only reason I've got Modern Family, I think the fatigue is there, but all of a sudden for its 5th season, it had its best season since season 1. So whatever 6 episodes it puts together, it's going to have a really, really strong chance again.
Including the wedding, right? The wedding is a huge.
Well, the wedding is a 2-parter, so that's going to be one whole. That's going to be one whole tape for them.
Now let's point out that Modern Family satisfies the bias of the TV Academy for very, very upscale shows. These people live in fancy houses. They have iPads. They drive nice cars. They talk about the environment, and it feels very relevant and very, appropriate, very telling about our times. And that appeals to them in the same way that Frasier, which is the last show to win 5, and in a row, which would be the same thing that Modern Family would do if it happens. And I don't see the show that takes it down. I don't see the strong contender there. If Orange is the New Black had a few male characters, in the same way that Alan McBeal had Peter McNichol and some of the other lawyers in The Office, I think that it would have a better chance. I think it can win, but I think that it's cursed there. Now, moving on to Best Actor. Now, answer this for me. I'm suddenly going blank on this, you guys. Arrested Development wasn't eligible this season? No, right?
No.
That's right.
Okay.
No, didn't air new episodes.
Okay, so last year we had in this category Jason Bateman, who can't come back, and Alec Baldwin, who can't come back. So there's a couple of spots open. Paul, let me start with you to pick on you. You are picking the stuff we all are picking: Jim Parsons, Louis C.K., Andy Samberg, Matt LeBlanc, Don Cheadle. But then for that 6th slot, you are picking somebody none of us are going for. I'm talking about Chris and Daniel and me, and that is Robin Williams. What do you know that we don't know?
Oh gosh, not much. I will point out that somebody that was on the drama Slugfest with you the other day, Marcus Dixon, actually has Robin Williams to win. Now I'm not. The show's called The Crazy Ones. Marcus, I think, is the crazy one for going with him to win. I don't know. I just sort of think, he gave it a good shot. It was a show that I don't know. I enjoyed it.
All right, so you don't know. All right. Let's go to somebody who might know here. Chris, you've got Johnny Galecki coming back, and this is dubious here because Johnny was nominated, 3 years ago? How many years ago was it that he made the list?
Yeah, 2000.
A couple years ago. Yeah.
How many?
I don't know. This category is, it's not, when I say it's weak, it's not because of the people, it's because of the way comedies are structured right now, and also the fact that all the Modern Family people are in supporting. It is so, when you've got people like Don Cheadle and Matt LeBlanc easily getting nominations every year, that just shows you how weak it is. I don't know who to put in the 6th slot. I will say that Marcus is not off on the wrong track. If Paul, if you're right and he gets in, he could win. Look who the writer is, David E. Kelley. He's won 38 acting Emmys for his people. As you know from watching the show, Robin gets to go from manic and hysterical to sad and depressed, all within minutes of each other. He's certainly got the range, and I think he's well respected in the industry. If he's that kind of guy, like Jeff Daniels last year for Newsroom, getting the nomination is going to be harder for him than getting a win.
Daniel seems to think he knows who's getting that 6th slot. You've got the show he's got a hard on for, Silicon Valley. He's got Thomas Middleditch here. All right, so Daniel, make your case.
It's again, it's not a strong case. I think Silicon Valley might pull out that best comedy series nomination, and since, like Chris said, this is sort of a wide open, kind of a weak field, so it's hard to tell who gets in. I think for the ride if Silicon Valley is well received, and that's really the only reason. I'd pick Robin Williams myself, but the show is canceled, which sometimes an actor gets in for a canceled show, but there wasn't a huge amount of critical love for this show either, so I don't see there being a strong mandate to rally around Robin Williams. It's possible because this category is so it's so hard to figure out who they're going to go for after those top five. So I'm just guessing Middleditch because I think maybe Silicon Valley does very well this year.
I would say, Tom, I gotta just interrupt for 1 sec. Who the three of us have in that sixth slot, we cannot defend. You've got to explain to everyone why you have John Cryer in the sixth slot.
Well, I would rather know why you guys don't. And we're talking about a multiple winner here, somebody who's beloved by the Academy. We underestimate this guy he did not get nominated last year, this is true, right. But we underestimate this guy over and over and over again, and here he comes winning again. So that's why I think I agree that Robin Williams could get in here. I don't know about Thomas Middleditch. I think that he is doesn't have a very expressive role. He's always, it's kind of like a humiliation TV role. The next terrible thing happens to him, and the next terrible thing happens to him, and he kind of grimaces and squirms a lot on screen, but I don't see any emotion in the role. I mean, it could happen if there's a Silicon Valley surge, and I believe that that's possible, but I think we cannot, in a case of where that sixth slot is wide open, and we can all win or die in our competition against each other and against all the people at Gold Derby. I want to put my money on somebody who's a proven winner here. Now, Chris,
I'll tell you the other name that jumps out at me working on these photo galleries the past few days is this switchover from Showtime by Shameless. William H. Macy has gotten in over his career for some crazy things that nobody saw at the Emmys before. And he's very well respected. He could slide in here.
He might. But Chris, let's stick with you. Why do you have Andy Samberg in the top slot to win?
Because he's funny, and because I don't know if Jim Parsons is going to be able to get a fourth Emmy for this role. At least, I mean, that would tie him for the all-time record. And I know voters don't look at that, but history kind of takes care of itself. And if he does, it'll almost be by default.
It was so interesting. Well, it's so interesting about when you mention the record, because the three record holders, Carol O'Connor, Kelsey Grammer, and then Michael J. Fox for two shows, Carol O'Connor and Kelsey Grammer for All in the Family and Frasier, respectively. Their wins are spread out over a little bit of time. I mean, Carol O'Connor wins 3 in a row towards the end of All in the Family, but Kelsey Grammer's are spread out over the entire run of Frasier. So, to your point, Chris, this Jim Parsons being very concentrated. I mean, Michael J. Fox wins 3 in a row for Family Ties, but yeah, if there's fatigue for Modern Family to win, I would think that there could well be that same fatigue with Jim Parsons.
Nonetheless, though, Paul, you have Parsons to win.
Yeah.
Okay. So explain that. I'm a little bit confused. If that's okay.
I'm on the one hand, but on the other, I have many hands. I'm sort of an octopus.
Well, Daniel has him to win too. So Daniel, take it home. Yeah. Why is Parsons going to win?
By default, again, it's and this will depend on who else is nominated and what they submit. I think my rankings could change just big time when we see who's nominated and we know what they entered. I think Louis C.K. has episodes to win. I'm not sure about Andy Samberg or the Showtime guys, but yeah, it's like you said. If things are so uncertain, then I'm going with a proven winner, and Jim Parsons is really the only proven winner currently competing in this category. So, until the episode submissions and the nominations prove otherwise, I'm just sticking with Parsons by default.
I talked to Andy Samberg about his episode submission, and when we chatted, this was about a month or 5 weeks ago, I told him that he has a problem making a choice because his character is so unsympathetic. And he said, but yes, he said, but that's just the first half of the show. He said, then we realized we had this problem, and you notice the character undergoes a change. So later in the season is what he told me he would submit, and then following the discussion in our forums, there seems to be a consensus that he'll go with the season finale. All right, sorry, Paul, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, as I recall, last year, I don't feel that there was a big bandwagon for Jim Parsons to win. I think there was a slight element of it being a surprise, and so I don't know. Like Chris had mentioned the other day, and just to shift gears a little bit, maybe to comedy actress, how the Emmy, I'm not going to call it a rut, but they get into a pattern of the same person winning over and over and over, and I think we're seeing that now potentially with Julia Louis-Dreyfus in comedy actress. That we've all pretty much, people are in agreement that she's a very strong contender to win the third year in a row for Veep. And Chris, if you could just talk a little bit about that, because I know that's a big shift in that category from the previous decade.
Well, we went through over a decade with a different, like, I don't know what the number was, 12 or 13 different winners, and that has happened a lot over Emmy history in various categories. They'll get in a cycle of lots and lots and lots of different winners, and then they'll get into a cycle of the same winner over and over. And remember, before that happened with this particular category, it was completely dominated for a decade by Candice Bergen and Helen Hunt. So I think we're back in that cycle again for this category. And when I look at the rest of the ladies who might be nominated, this might be the easiest category of everything this year. I mean, I think Julia easily wins this category.
Okay, well, wait a second. Let's run through the list. We all have the same 4 of the 6 on our list. We have Julia, Amy Poehler, Lena Dunham, Edie Falco. Those are easy. They were all nominated last year. They'll all be back. 2 of the nominees from last year will not be back. Tina Fey won't be back. Laura Dern will not be back. So that means we all want to pay attention to the 2 fill-ins that we each have. And we all have we all have Taylor Schilling from Orange is the New Black. That's easy. 3 of us have Anna Faris. Daniel does not have Anna Faris there. He's got Mindy Kaling. So, Daniel, what's up with this Mindy Kaling love? You are disagreeing with the 3 of your comrades here. How dare you?
This is a hunch. I have sometimes it takes the Emmys a year to catch up. Mindy Project didn't really do well last year, but with empty slots, there's a chance for her to move in, especially if hypothetically, I think it's possible. She's the writer of her show, the producer of her show, and it has a similar sensibility as 30 Rock in some ways. So I think she could pick up some of that support from the Tina Fey people who don't have her to vote for this year. So. It's a hunch. I'm not entirely confident. It's more that I think she's less unlikely than Anna Faris, but it's really just a hunch at this point.
So why are we saying Anna Faris? Who wants to answer that question?
I just think it's a nice meaty role. I mean, it's a 3-camera comedy, but it's got real substance to it. I mean, it's Anna Faris and Allison Janney are both playing recovering alcoholics. The dynamic between them as mother and daughter is fascinating, and then Anna Faris's character has her own teenage daughter, and it's a show. It took a while to find its feet. It puts me in mind of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, in that the first few episodes were kind of zigzagging all over the place in terms of tone. But it was one of those shows I sort of looked forward to watching every week, and I guess I'm one of those people that really, when it comes to network shows and doing 22 or 24, say versus your Orange is the New Black or a Veep. I mean, what are there, 6 Veeps, 8 Veeps a year? I mean, they've done more episodes of Mom in one season than they have in 3 of Veep. I just feel I give them a lot of credit for that. And I'd love to. I think she's. I'd be glad to see her in that category, Anna Faris.
Can she win, Chris?
No, Julia's going to win. I'm like, I think the rest of you, I think we've all got the same 5, and it's just this last slot that's kind of confusing. Daniel may have convinced me on Mindy Kaling. I've been waffling back and forth between her and Anna Faris, and I think that's kind of your 7, though. I think the 6 is coming out of those 7.
Does anybody else have a chance here? Go ahead.
Oh, I just want to say one thing that of course this year we could well have 7, with that 2% rule. If the 7th nominee is within 6% of the 2% of the 6th nominee, they're going to go to 7. So I think that could be very exciting. I think we're going to see a lot of races that might be a little bit bigger than they have been, and I think it's good. It's Emmy should do that. I mean, there's so many more outlets than there were even a decade ago.
And if there's a tie, if we get a 7th in there, and even without it, I think Emmy Rossum is a real threat here. We haven't talked about her. None of us have her on our list. Of course, this is the big unknown. Shameless has done what a few shows have been able to do, or permitted to do in Emmy history, and that is shift classification. Got no love at all on the drama side. Now here it comes as a comedy. It has a beloved following. Daniel, Emmy, go ahead.
How beloved, Tom, if it couldn't get any nominations for drama except for guest actress for Joan Cusack?
Oh, because it's a show where they're all daddies stumbling around drunk, and they all look like trailer trash. They're not going to respect it on the drama side because of its frivolous, FU nature. I think it can do well on the comedy side. I would not be surprised if we saw suddenly this thing break through at the Emmys in a big way. I'm not saying it'll happen, but I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it did.
How much
it
does
would be similar to like a Weeds on Showtime, right?
Yes, that's a good example. Yes,
Well, Tom, just as we're talking about Emmy nominations things, how important is the campaigning? Because I think they certainly Showtime's done a great job in repositioning it. I mean, how important is that versus, say, the Oscars, just in terms of getting your cast out there?
Yeah, it's huge because it's a popular vote. I don't think you can influence Emmy voting much on round 2. Some people do take out ads. There's some campaigning. It's always smart to do that. But, I mean, why not, basically? But because it's a popular vote for round 1, yeah, and they have been doing a very good job hustling that show around town, reminding everybody now that it's in a new classification.
Well, of all the elements of that show, she is the one most liked by critics. She's the one most often singled out and has been up for some of the critics' awards. So, yeah, I guess it's possible. I think the 7 that we named before are probably more likely.
No, it's 8, Chris. It's an 8-girl race here. But now, why are none of us saying Zooey Deschanel? Is this really a 9-gal race? And why no Melissa
McCarthy out again too, and she won 3 years ago.
Right.
And has had a couple of movies already this year, so she's always in the forefront of media attention.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that if they're going to go with a CBS Monday night show, it's going to be Anna Faris and Mom. I mean, I think that Mike and Molly had its moment, and it's sweet, but it's very it doesn't feel fresh. It's sort of doing the same thing year in and year out. It's fine, but it's definitely comfort food. At least Mom is a little bit more provocative, and it's got that secret weapon of Allison Janney, who talk about an Emmy darling. I mean, really, what's interesting, and I'd be curious as to, was there any talk of her being up there in the lead race, Chris? I mean, you follow this so closely. Was there any talk?
There was enough talk that back when we were working on interviews for Golden Globes and SAG, so the show had been on a couple of months at that point. I remember reaching out to the producers, asking that because we were going to interview her, and they were trying to make the decision at the time, and ultimately they got word to us, I think, like the day before the interview, that she would be supporting. So
let's jump over to supporting actress, and since we're here, Chris and Paul both have Allison Janney winning supporting actress. Now, last year, Jane Krakowski and made the list. She's not eligible now. It's interesting that we're all overlooking Jane Lynch again. Of course, she's come and gone from this category, even though at various times, and has gone out and come back in. That's a kind of rare but significant thing to happen when it does, and she's pulled that off. Paul, let's start with you. Allison Janney can win. Why?
Oh my gosh! I mean, I just go back to the years of The West Wing when she wins she wins Best Actress for a show that an episode she was hardly in. Again, I mean, she's a very strong supporting contender. I mean, like Chris was just saying, she could have been lead and that would have been defensible. So I feel that she just can do it all, and I think not that the same people are going to be voting over on the drama side, for her recurring role on Masters of Sex, but they're aware of that. So there's this woman, and she does all these indie films. She can just do everything. We saw her a few years ago on Broadway singing and dancing in the musical version of 9 to 5. And I think Emmy voters are just wowed by her, and that what can't she do? And we certainly know she can win.
All I see is this: whatever episode she submits, she is powerful. I mean, she can be laugh out loud funny in 1 second, and make you want to cry in the next. I mean, she's this recovering drug addict, alcohol addict, about to be a great grandmother at a very young age. I mean, she really knocks it out of the park. Her toughest challenge here, and this will be in a piece, I guess it's going up in the next day or two, it's an unproven show. I mean, for us to have her in first, a rookie show, even though she's not unproven with Emmy voters, that's kind of a risk in a way, because I've had people in first before that didn't even get nominated. So, getting nominated is her toughest challenge here. If she gets in, I mean, this is a category that was won by Merritt Wever for no particular reason last year. Allison Janney should have no trouble winning.
Chris, you don't even have Merritt Wever on your list of nominees. What do you have against Merritt Wever? What's going on here?
I don't have anything against Merritt Wever, but in the last few years, almost every year, an Emmy winner from the year before, sometimes two, get completely snubbed, and that's going to happen to her. It's going to happen to Jeff Daniels this year. It's just going to happen.
I want to just jump in for a sec, just to explain to people, if you could, Tom, at this point when you were talking about round 2, how many people are watching the episode submissions in this, say, supporting category?
Nobody. The shows, many of them do send sample episodes, for your consideration.
Oh, no, I'm talking about in round 2. When the nomination.
Round 2. That varies. In the movie mini categories, on the performance side, you could be dipping down as low as 30 and 40 people watching a category, or it could be as high as 120 or even 150. Generally, I round it out to like the mid-70s.
Right, which is to Chris's point about Merritt Wever winning last year. If there's only 75 or 80 people watching and ranking you, it doesn't take but 1 or 2 extra votes to suddenly win. So
right.
There were some people last year in that category, I have no doubt, that were just happened to be Nurse Jackie fans.
Right.
Well, I want to know why Chris and why Paul are not Orange is the New Black fans here, because Daniel and I know something that you apparently don't seem to know. And Daniel, let's start with you on this. We have Kate Mulgrew here. I know she's going to be nominated. You know she's going to be nominated. These two lugheads don't, so explain why you think she is.
I'm about 50, 60, maybe 70% sure she'll be nominated. Again, it's sort of like Allison Janney and Mom. It's an untested show. We haven't seen it perform yet, so it's always a little bit of a risk to predict people are going to get in, let alone win. But I remember when I watched, I think it was the second episode of the first season called Tit Punch. I thought, oh well, she could win an Emmy with that already. It's really funny, it's broad, it's dramatic. She cries, she's sympathetic, she does that accent. And it's structured a lot. Orange is the New Black is structured similarly to how Lost was, where every episode basically gave one character, their own basic Emmy tape showcase to showcase their character. And she has a really good one. And Allison Janney can certainly challenge her, playing that flamboyant, addict character. And we know Emmy voters and awards voters love addicts. But yeah, Kate Mulgrew has, she has that episode, and I think she'll probably submit it, and I think she'll get it, and I think she'll win.
So why do you think? Oh, you think she'll win? You've got her nominated but not winning. You have Julie Bowen win.
I just moved Kate Mulgrew up today, just because I feel like Julie Bowen didn't win last year. Modern Family fatigue is setting in a bit. I had Julie Bowen in #1 by default, but I just, like a couple hours ago, moved Kate Mulgrew up, so it might not have gone through in the in
You
the
tricky
in our
bastards.
database.
All of you, all three of you, you're tricky bastards. I got to check your predictions before we do these things because you lead me down this path over here, then you make a switch before we get on here, and when I try to call you
I'll
accountable.
tell you what worries me about Kate is I had, at the same moment last year, I had Jessica Walter actually winning the whole thing, which I think if she had gotten in, she would have won. And Jessica and Kate have had very similar careers. All 70s TV detectives and on TV forever. And
They're both on Netflix now, right?
Yeah, I just don't know if Kate's going to get in.
Tom, you've got Alice and Janney winning. Maybe you could talk to that.
Yeah, because I think that for all the reasons that you said, I think that she has a kind of power, a kind of glow to her, that when she becomes a raw nerve almost, that when she's nailing a scene, you feel it deep in your bones. And that's how she won for the Women of Kumar. Notoriously, the episode of The West Wing where she had, 9 or 11 minutes at most on screen. It was simply a press conference scene at the White House, and she's raging against how the women in the Middle East are being treated. And none of us thought she could possibly win that year.
Best actress.
Best actress, lead, yeah, after she's moved up from supporting. Yeah. So here she was with this obviously supporting performance, screen time anyway. For that's how powerful she is, and that's how much they love her.
And she might win 2 Emmys this year.
Explain.
Well, this one and the one we brought up earlier, the guest role over on Masters, I think she's very powerful on that too, in a whole different kind of way. So yeah, and listen, I just watched the first episode of season 2 last night, and she may win again next year. I mean, she is really good in the premiere.
So how the hell did Merritt Wever win last year? Does anybody have a theory? None of us predicted it, proving us wrong here in a sweeping humiliation for Gold Derby. What did we screw up last year? Who's got an answer to this?
We had her in 7th place, collectively as a website.
That's how much we really know, right?
Well,
so
it's
what
one
happened?
of those ones that you feel responsible for, like poor Jane Krakowski, because we were rah, and you're gonna win, and Merritt Wever, I'm sure, was one of those people on the red carpet saying, I don't know why I'm here, I'm 100 to 1 shot. So I think to Chris's point, and what we were talking about earlier though, Tom, when there's only a few dozen voters and there's a big category, and and if we see expanded rosters this season, I mean, it takes one vote. It takes one person ranking.
But still, why is that one voter doing it? Daniel, I have a theory. It has to go with empathy. One of the 3 things that we believe at Gold Derby nails a win. We look for range. We look for a big impact scene or more in a winning episode. And then we look for empathy. And there are a lot of examples historically about this. You could look back at the year when Patricia Arquette won for Medium, and you go, how the hell did she win Best Drama Actress for that? None of us thought she was a contender. Well, if you saw the episode she submitted, where she's kind of shuffling around her apartment in her fluffy slippers and her old house dress and her robe, and having this kind of war-weary life written all over her, and your heart went out to her, and if you did your proper job as an audience viewer and empathized with her, you felt her performance deeply, and that's how she won. I have a hunch that this is how Merritt Wever won last year. She's kind of the overset, every girl, loser type, who is somehow connecting with us all on a very deep level, empathetic level, that may have, given her points where flamboyance wasn't there. She's not known for giving a big over-the-top scenery-chewing performance, is she?
Well, she had no range, no impact, and no screen time. She spent more time with Rob in an interview a few weeks ago than she does in 3 episodes in Nurse Jackie.
Whoa, okay. This is a new side of Chris Beachum. Listen. Let's apply your eye, impact, range, empathy over to on the comedy supporting actor category, Tom, because I'd be really curious as to what everyone's take on that is with the Modern Family Quartet versus, say, Tony Hale, who won last year, and a few others. So what, Daniel, if you could maybe just talk about that. Who do you see as the strongest in that supporting actor?
This is a category where I think this could be just about anyone. I have them ranked in a certain way. I have Tony Hale ranked first because he won last year, so I'm going with momentum just sort of by default. But it's really hard to say. I mean, Andre Braugher, the Emmys love him. The Modern Family guys will probably have at least at least two or three in again this year. But that factor, submitting 3 people submitting episodes and everybody basically gets 3 or 4 different submissions. That didn't work last year, and Tony Hale has a true supporting performance on a 30-minute show. He ended up beating them. So this is probably the most up in the air at the moment.
Let me explain too. I don't know how the hell Tony Hale won last year, because he had very little screen time in that episode. I do think it's the empathy factor again, because the one big scene he has in that episode is where he's in the back of the limo with Julie Louis-Dreyfus, and he says, Madam Vice President, I'm so glad that you've agreed. I'm paraphrasing. I'm sure I'm screwing up the details here, but I'm so glad you've agreed to attend my parents' wedding anniversary. And she goes, what? I'm not going to that. And it was so devastating to him, because you could imagine he's told his parents. We've all been in a situation like that. So-and-so's going to be here, and blah, blah, and then they go, I'm not going to that. I didn't see anything big emotionally. Did you guys in that winning episode?
Well, the second he won, my first thought was he won just as much for Arrested Development as he did Veep, which was out at the exact same time.
Okay, maybe that's a good theory too. I don't understand his win at all.
He was beloved on Arrested Development. People loved that character.
Tom, you've really put me in mind, though. Of I have Andre Braugher down the 6th slot, and I'm going to move him way up, because when you talk about empathy and range and impact, I mean, that character on Brooklyn Nine-Nine really does tick all those boxes. And this is a guy that the Emmys love. He gets a nomination for Men of a Certain Age when nobody else pays any attention to that. He's won Emmys in the past. I don't know. I think that this is somebody who does. Chris, does he have the episode? I think he does.
Chris has Andre Braugher.
Yeah, I've got him in first, and it's kind of a lot of these are placeholders till we see the nominations. But my biggest reason for having him, well, 2 reasons. One, you just mentioned, we do know he's well liked by the Emmys. I mean, he gets nominations for things that basically nobody sees. It's my old theory of I could actually hear the Emmy voter in some cases going, "Oh, I bet he's good in that." Click. They've never seen it. But in his particular case, remember, his entire career has been drama. And oftentimes, very not emotional him, but very powerful kind of dramas. Mm-hmm. And to see him in a comedy, people will bring their feelings about him from the past, over to seeing him in a comedy. And those that watch him for the first time over in July when they watch these episodes, they're going to go, wow, I didn't know he could do that. So that's going to help him win this award.
Okay.
We all have the same nominees, which is interesting. We all have Tony Hale and Ty Burrell, Ed O'Neill. We have Eric Stonestreet coming back after having been snubbed last year. To Daniel's point, was that evidence of Modern Family fatigue? If so, will we see more of it this year, which means we might not even see Ed O'Neill nominated? We could see a trend there, or it could be one of those fluke things. Eric's not in, and then he gets back. Andre Braugher and Jesse Tyler Ferguson. But we have other people in the running. We have Adam Driver from Girls. We have Neil Patrick Harris from How I Met Your Mother. Max Greenfield from New Girl. Do you guys think any of these people have a chance of getting in?
I think Adam Driver is the one I'm most worried about. He was nominated last year. He had a much better season this year. He had much more screen time, much more storyline. His character sort of, went from just being this weirdo who Lena Dunham was dating and really pursued this acting career and became his own full-fledged character this past season. So I'm really, really worried about leaving Adam Driver off. I think he could get back in. Especially if we're overestimating Modern Family, if that's even weaker maybe this year, if maybe Ed O'Neill or Jesse Tyler Ferguson falls out instead of Eric Stonestreet coming back in, there might be more room here for Adam Driver to stick around. So he's the one I'm most worried about.
I think Jesse and Eric. Well, Ty is always going to get in. I mean, he just won the SAG Award and beat up a lot of lead people. I think he's probably the most respected of all the 6 on Modern Family, so he's safe. But Eric and Jesse had the wedding was not just the finale, but I mean the whole season was built around getting ready for this wedding. And I kind of feel like Eric and Juliana Margulies last year were just sort of part of a a lot of people, a lot of newcomers trying to come into the category, and I just think people thought, hey, they'll get in, they don't need my vote, kind of a thing. I don't think it was a snub of them particularly. It's just you've only got six boxes you're clicking off, and I think they got left out. But I do think Adam Driver. I'm gonna back up. I think if a Modern Family guy gets left out, it'll be Ed O'Neill. He got left out of the first season. I'm not sure if they're going to put 4 back in, but I don't know that Adam Driver is going to be the one.
Here's an oddball suggestion, maybe. Beau Bridges for the Millers. And again, to the Allison Janney on 2 shows. I mean, what do you think, Chris? I mean, you interviewed him. He's Allison Janney's husband on Masters of Sex. This guy gets Emmy nominations like other people sort of get said hello to him. He's got a slew of them. What do you think? Do you think that that's the name that we might be hearing next Thursday morning?
It's possible. I haven't thought about him too much for this show. I don't think this show has been all that well received. I think I still have Margot Martindale getting into supporting actress, but that's because of her recent. I mean, she's some people when they get started on these Emmy roles, they ride them for a while. It's been a good while since Beau Bridges has been nominated. But he does play very different than most characters he's ever played, so it's possible. The guy I kind of have been thinking about that's really not in our top 12. Remember, Bill Hader is no longer on SNL, but he's had that slot a couple of years. The guy that's kind of taken over as the go-to guy on SNL is Taran Killam. He's in just about every sketch, and if they want to just take a Bill Hader out and drop another SNL guy in, it's going to be him.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, and what's interesting, he's married to Kobe Smulders from How I Met Your Mother. She never got nominated. So it'd be funny if he sort of, that last season of How I Met Your Mother kind of got Neil Patrick Harris's comeback slot. So anyway, Neil Patrick's got a Tony. He'll win an Emmy for the Tony cast from last year. We don't have to feel sorry for him. So what?
Your Big Bang Theory guys, too, we just interviewed both of them, and I was convinced last year Simon Helberg was getting in. He had his best season the previous season, and even won the Critics' Choice Award that summer. I just thought for sure he was getting in. I don't know if either of those guys will get in this time, but if we do see him or Kunal get in, if we do see writing or directing nomination finally for Big Bang, maybe it could be its time if we see some more support coming in.
Mm-hmm. And then,
okay, final thoughts. Let's go to you, Daniel. Final thoughts, things to look for. I love Chris's point here about the writing and directing nominations, not just for Big Bang, but Veep. That is very telling. In other words, as Thursday looms, what do you tell our Derbyites to keep an eye on for it?
I think the big thing I'm looking for is Orange is the New Black, and not just if it gets in, but where and how many. It has it has, I think, maybe 5 or 6 actors and actresses submitted across various categories. If it gets into some places we're not expecting, if it gets Pablo Schreiber into guest actor, if it gets both Uzo Aduba and Laverne Cox into guest actress, if it picks up a lot of extra support where we're not necessarily expecting it, I think that's going to be telling.
Paul?
Yeah, I would echo that, and I think it's yet again the scheduling, the fact that there were new episodes of Orange is the New Black right around when there was Emmy voting going on. It's sort of out of the HBO playbook. And I'm chastened to not have had it in comedy series, but I've already corrected that while you three were talking.
Good.
So,
Chris, I think what you just said. I mean, if Veep or Big Bang gets in directing or writing or both, if they get even more support, then they might be a challenger to Modern Family. I don't see Orange or any of those others as being a challenger to Modern Family. If they don't, I think Modern easily wins again.
And I think the thing to keep an eye on, most of all, on Emmy nomination morning is Modern Family and its performance. A lot of us thought, okay, the juggernaut sweep of this category for Best Comedy Series, which it has never lost, is going to finally stop last year because we thought we were reading significance into the fact that it was down in the number of nominations. We saw Eric Stone Street overlooked, etc. If we see that trend continue, then we have to reconsider the idea of whether or not, of the fact that it could actually lose, especially if Veep, let's say, I don't think Big Bang can win, but I think Veep can if it picks up those nominations, and if there's all this Orange is the New Black support across the board, that could actually do it too, because we'll have all this renewed buzz. Or like Daniel said, in terms of the winning list last year for Modern Family, where none of the actors won, that was a consistent reminder of the support of waning. I think in the case for Best Comedy Series, voters have nowhere else to go, or had nowhere else to go last year. This year they do. This year they have Orange is the New Black as the new thing, but I think also some of these other shows have a chance of getting in, like if Veep picks up some steam, and Louis, we'll see, of course, how that goes. All right, thank you, guys. We will convene on the other side of the Emmy nominations. Good luck on all of your predictions to those of you watching and those listening to the audio podcast version of there. If you have not updated your predictions, get in there, do it now. We have a prize of $1,000 to the person who does best. So don't pay, if you want to win, don't pay attention to us. We're blowhards here. Go with your gut, put some faith in what you believe in, and go win that money. Thanks.